room between rooms, there lies a man behind the tree. Always there, always forgotten. Yet at the end of the day, he will always offer you one thing. An egg of all things, which is very interesting. And that's what we're going to talk about today. The importance of eggs, the egg man, Gaster, trauma, and Omori of all things. So strap in, because this is a theory known as the omelet has folds. Now before the video starts, I want to just mention that this video will contain spoilers for both all of Deltarune and all of Omori, every ending included. So if you want to play that game, go play it or watch a playthrough or something. It's really good, but just that's your warning. From here on out, you can't blame me for spoilers. Now, for reals this time, before I get the video started, I want to say that everything said from this point forward has to be taken with a grain of salt, because this theory is heavily relying on one tweet made years ago by Toby. Now, this tweet, I'm just going to paraphrase it. I'll probably try and find that in the internet while I'm editing. But the important part of it is that Toby said that a game was in development similar to a game that he was currently developing. Keep in mind, this game was not Undertale. This was still Deltarune that was in development back probably in 2017. Editor's note, I just remembered that he's actually been working on this since like 2012 or something. The Deltarune was planned out before Undertale, so I'm just being an idiot. Ignore that. And the game during that time that was also being developed was Omori. Now, why do I think it's Omori? Truthfully, there is no solid confirmation that the game that Toby was talking about was Omori, and Omori had similarities to Deltarune, but my reason as to believe why it is Omori is that Omocat ended up making a sprite in Undertale, the Washua sprite, and likewise, Toby ended up making a song for Omori, the Mary CD, I believe, but I, again, need to fact check that once I'm editing. Now, with all that being said, I like to believe that the game in question was Omori. Now with that finally out of the way, I can finally get into the theory of why. Actually, first things first, we should get into the title. Why is it this omelet has folds? Well, to answer that, we actually need to get into Omori. Here's your first spoiler and final warning. In the Hikikomori route, we end up accessing a place called Black Space 2, a deeper and more unconventional area, or at least more unconventional than Black Space already was. Now this is important because of how the spaces work in Omori. The spaces work as kind of layers to Sunny's subconscious. Now, these layers work from an active brain area to where he's lucid dreaming mostly, and that's headspace. Underneath headspace, you got black space. Black space is more of the subconscious mind. And then going even deeper, you got black space 2, a much deeper part of the brain. This is why it's called folds or layers, as going through all of headspace is like peeling back parts of the brain and seeing deeper and deeper into the subconscious thoughts. Now, what does this have to do with Deltarune? Well, be patient, we're getting there. We actually have to analyze the egg rooms in general. Who is the Forgotten Man? Why are the egg rooms there? What does the egg signify? And what does that mean for Chris? So let's start with the first question. Who is the Eggman? Well, firstly, it's already a bit of a stupid question because for all we know, or at least for the purposes of this theory, he is his own character. Now, why does he only appear in the Dark World? Actually, he doesn't. Unless Chris is hallucinating, which is its own bag of things, I don't know. We see the Eggman a couple times actually, primarily at the start of chapter 2 during the roadblock. If you have collected the egg from prior chapter, you will actually be able to interact with one of the cars and see that a man is waving happily towards you. Keep in mind, this only happens if you picked up the egg in chapter 1. So it leads me to believe that this is most likely either the Eggman in general or something that is maybe a reminder of the Eggman. And yes, this is important because it leads into my second point, the importance of the locations of the egg rooms. Now, this is going to be where I'm starting to put things together in both Omori and Deltarune, But here's the important things you need to know. In Omori, you have to go around collecting keys. And once you start filling out the puzzle, you will start to see small gaps in the floor after picking up a key. And these gaps end up taking you into a black space-like area. It isn't exactly black space, but it isn't exactly headspace. Call it a place in between places, if you will. Now, how do you find the egg room? No, we're not counting chapter 3 because that's its whole thing, but for chapters 1, 2, and 4, you find an egg in a room in between rooms. Now, I'm gonna tie this into something that we see in chapter 4. During Susie's Dark World, we end up finding an organic who ends up telling us that whose dream is this? Is it the Knight's dream? And what happens doesn't exactly matter, but the important part is exactly the word that's being used. Dream. I like to believe that this has some importance. And again, because of the fact that Toby said that Omori was being developed and was very, very similar to Deltarune, it leads me to believe that this could have some substantial amount of importance behind it. And that's going to lead into my next point. The chapter 4 egg room, and why this whole thing has to do with Omori as well. So I find this egg room to be the most important and most interesting out of all of them, aside from chapter 3's, but we'll get to that, because it shows us something that not every egg room has up until this point. This sequence is more of a memory sequence. We're in a hospital, playing as Chris, and we enter one of the rooms, and from there it's all black. Now, what happens in this room is mostly important as we see that Chris begins to draw something. Now, this is most likely, as you've heard if you're in the theory scene, this most likely means Chris was at one point in art therapy. Now, what they also draw is very important because once they're finished drawing, they begin to draw a tree over it completely. This seems to be some form of repression of some kind. And again, where do we find the Eggman? Behind trees. And when Chris goes to wash their hands, we get the line of, "It'll never come all off," or something like that. I'll make sure to put it on the screen what's actually said. Now, this specific thing is used a couple times in literature. Specifically, the one that comes to mind right now is Macbeth. In the story of Macbeth, Lady Macbeth ends up killing 2 people. And when she is gone through with it, no one knows, she still feels guilty about it. And she describes this sensation as never being able to fully clean the blood off her hands for it. Now, this is an indicator of guilt. And I like to believe that with Chris's situation and how they could never wash it all away, I like to believe that they must have done something or was in relation to the disappearance of Des, and they feel guilty over it. Hence why they feel like it'll never wash away. I also feel like that could be a reason why Chris and Noel grew distant, but I'm just gonna leave that for another video. And now I've got to tie it all in together. What does that mean in the first place? Like, yeah, Chris feels guilty, but so what? What does that have to do with the Eggman? What does that have to do with the eggs? What does that have to do with the room in between rooms? What does that have to do with Gaster? Well, let's go one at a time. I feel like the rooms in general and their placements can be something similar to Omori. As we know, dark fountains are usually imbued with the will of the creator. As we know, they also have effects around the people around it, like Gerson coming back to life. Now, I like to believe that these rooms in between rooms are similar to the spaces in between spaces in Headspace, where you aren't exactly in Headspace and you aren't exactly in Black Space. I like to think of the Dark World in the same way. These rooms in between rooms are maybe peeks into Chris's subconscious. After all, they made very, very clearly they don't really like us, and they really, really like to hide information from us. Like not letting us read the guitar code, changing all their contacts so we couldn't check the phone after they've been calling people, and doing a whole lot more things that are arguably very questionable. But still, it's clear that they don't really like to show us stuff about them or people they care about, like Azrael. Now, this is important because I like to believe again, these rooms in between rooms can act as a bit of a subconscious, a bit of a way to peek into what happened with Chris, their development as a character, why they're pretty much mute, why they don't like, well, it's pretty clear why they don't like us, but anyways, it shows us a peek into Chris's subconscious. And I believe that's what the egg rooms are for. And that's why I believe the Eggman is most likely whoever Chris's therapist was. Do I believe this was Gaster? Probably not. Why? It just feels like Gaster's already very involved with stuff that regard the Dark Worlds, the creation of Deltarune, and a whole lot of things. I just don't feel like he could also be Chris's therapist, but who knows? Toby could pull something off that I can't even imagine, and we leave it at that, but regardless. But I still do believe that the Eggman has some connection to Gaster, mostly because not only are both of them very ambiguous, they also have very overlapping themes. Gaster appears only in a room between rooms, the Eggman appears in a room between rooms, Gaster is green and in between. Sorry, I got off track there, but regardless, what I'm trying to get to for the final point in this video, it's that the egg rooms most likely signify some type of peek into the layers of Chris's subconscious and things regarding most likely Dessa's disappearance or the tale of hell. One or the other, or both, honestly. Could be both. And once again, I like to believe that the Eggman was Chris's therapist, and while they're not exactly there in the Dark Worlds, or maybe he is, who knows, honestly, I like to believe that maybe while the Eggman is not actually there, it could be maybe a memory of him. After all, we know that, well, we don't know. This is, again, lots of speculation, lots of, coping and stuff. But it is still a possibility that memories and ways that you remember people can affect how things or objects become other things in the Dark World. Take Sound of Justice and Gerson. Sound of Justice was created in Susie's Dark World because, according to Ralsei, only dead people can come back in very specific darknesses. And what the difference is between the darknesses might inherently be the will of the wielder and the memories of connection to things. Like, say, the abandoned classroom. The knight made that dark fountain. Let's just say that. What if the knight had connections to all of these objects? We know the king had connections to the lighteners, but then they left. So I like to believe that maybe memories, or again, will, which is something important in Deltarune, has something to do with the darkness that you produce. After all, we can see that very clearly with the differences between Chris and the Knight's Dark Worlds and Susie's Dark World. They have different wills. So I like to believe that in these Dark Worlds, we get to see deeper into the character who either made the Dark World or is currently inhabiting it. And these egg rooms are exactly that for Chris. We get to see into their past, and most likely that these eggs, they are neither important nor on, that is a quote in the game. But Gaster seems to see that they are issues. That feels like it could be its own video in its own right, but again, it just further strengthens that connection between the Eggman and Gaster. Why would Gaster see the eggs as issues? According to the PS4 and PS5, this is not me making stuff up. The eggs are classified as issues by Gaster in the PS4 and PS5 versions, as if you collect an egg, you won't get an achievement for beating every chapter. And the chapter specific requirement says to beat the chapter without issue. So if the only difference between getting the trophy and not getting it is an egg, we can assume that the egg is the issue. So maybe it becomes like some mech that destroys Gaster or something, the Eggmobile, I don't know. But all we know is that maybe they are a little bit more important than what they make themselves out to be. Yeah, that's all for today's video. I just made this video very quickly. I'm just trying to get back into the swing of editing because, I haven't been doing it for a good minute. But yeah, I know like 99% of my viewers on this channel are waiting for the lore movie, And this I have to at least get used to editing again, so I can fully tackle the monster that is part 1, because it's already looking to be like an hour and 30, and that's only one part of the 7 parts that are supposed to come out. But you know what, that's besides the point. Thank you for watching. That's all for today.